This content is brought to you by Uphold, which makes crypto investing easy. I've been a user of Uphold since 2017. They're one of my go-to exchanges. You can buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrencies on Uphold. You can also trade precious metals and equities. They have 10 plus million users, 250 plus cryptocurrencies, and they're available in 150 countries. As with all exchanges, you can buy and sell on them, but I highly recommend you custody your own crypto, not your keys, not your coins. If you'd like to learn more about Uphold, please visit the link in the description. Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto Podcast, Crypto Water Cooler Series. This is episode 3. With me is my co-host, Vanessa Vargas, who is the founder and host of the Unraveling Crypto Podcast. Be sure to check out her podcast. Links will be in the description. Vanessa, man, as we were talking about before the recording, I am happy because the price of Bitcoin is pumping right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a great sign. We get super excited when things like this happen. It's like the hope is back. It's like it reassures us.
But that's the thing with Bitcoin and crypto, right? Because the highs are so high, but the lows, man, they're brutal.
It totally is. And I mean, right now it's an interesting time because we're kind of seeing like a pickup of energy and movement in the entire financial landscape, really. But we're still very much in a bear market. But these little nuggets of light help us feel a lot better in the current state of the world.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Like, we are still, I would say, in just my opinion, looking at the charts, like the transition from a bear to bull, but we're not fully in a bull yet. Like, I wouldn't take that to the bank. But like, to your point, we were just so much at the bottom. We pretty much hit the floor. Like, you're having a relief rally, so to speak. And then I think it's going to roll over. And then next year is the Bitcoin halving. And I think that's when the fireworks start. So from a chart perspective, I've been sharing with people, like, I think this is just like a rally to 40K, similar to what we saw in 2019. It rolls over. So I wouldn't listen to the people who are saying new all-time highs, 100K. I don't think that's the time.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Not an expert in this by all means, but don't think we're gonna get there yet. And we're still in a space to watch with what's going on with regulations and with the SEC. There's just a lot of movement still, but we'll see.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if next week Gary Gensler comes out and he's going after another company. They're taking another enforcement action. And I think I've been hearing some rumors is that they're going to target stable coins next. So I don't know what they're going to do, if it's like Tether. I think USDC is safe, but who knows? But until Congress acts, you got this guy, Gary Gensler, going crazy. So we still have to be cautious.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it just continues to add to the uncertainty and to the stifling of the forward movement with crypto overall.
Mm-hmm. Now, the funny thing is, it's like you have all of these things happening, all these enforcement actions, Coinbase getting sued, Binance getting sued and everything. Yeah. But then all of a sudden, BlackRock says, hey, we're filing for a Bitcoin spot ETF. And then yesterday, Fidelity Charles Schwab Citadel come out and say, hey, we're launching a crypto exchange. Yeah. Come check it out. And it, I was tweeting about this. It kind of lends to, I wouldn't say this is a conspiracy theory, but rather just a thought of these TradFi incumbents know crypto's here to stay. Gary Gensler and the SEC are almost weaponized against crypto startups who are once being targeted. And then these big players are launching their services. It's the two things happening in parallel. Logic and reason will tell you something's fishy here.
Yeah, I mean, and it's pretty clear now that if you're seeing these big, institutional investors and money makers really moving into and putting applications for this, it's a clear sign that it's here for the long term. And there needs to be some way of being able to put some regulation into this and acceptance of what's already here. So I think that's something that we see. Like, we see the shadow side of the lawsuits against Binance and Coinbase and all of the things that have happened. But then we also see a lot of forward movement and a lot of big players coming into the space with really big ideas and what they want to do. So like you said, just echoing basically everything, just I think CoinShares also said that, a shift in institutional investors, in the investor sentiment is definitely happening with the following of BlackRock's bid for Bitcoin ETF. So despite the SEC's like history of denying like those applications, I think that the chances of that being approved could be right around the corner.
Yeah,
We'll see.
Yeah, but someone had threw out the stat, and I can't remember the full numbers, but it was like 500 to 1, 500 ETF approvals for BlackRock versus 1 denial, like throughout their history. So,
Wow.
yeah, and of course it's BlackRock, right? The world's largest wealth manager with like $11 trillion or something. And then of course they have huge political connections. They can call up Gary Gensler if they want right now, and any politician. So on one hand, it's like this is so bullish and so big because, I mean, you think about the amount of capital is going to come into Bitcoin and crypto.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it goes back to like these small players, these startups are going to get stumped out by the incumbents. I wouldn't be surprised if BlackRock tries to go buy Coinbase or something. I think that's in the cards. And there were rumors that Fidelity may go buy Grayscale.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. It's pretty crazy, but it's some of it is what we've seen in past cycles outside of crypto, just the free market, so to speak. And I say that in quotations because how politicians and campaign donations work. But I think at the end of the day, it's bullish. It's going to make me money. It's going to help me take crypto mainstream. I'm bullish on it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I think, kind of like what you were just saying, if we just even take a look back on the whole crypto space, like even if we're taking a look more on like what's being built and the applications, taking out the monetary side of things, that's also part of the like, we're bullish that we want people to come and we want to onboard the next wave or the next million people into the crypto space. But then if we have really big players, like Meta, like all of these big companies coming in and taking a hold, then it kind of loses the ethos of being decentralized, and then it goes back into centralization. So there is a really small line, and that we all need to thread carefully if we want to build something different than what we're used to, for sure.
That is an excellent point, because it's like you're saying, we were taking steps forward. Now we may be taking steps backward to go back to that centralization where they control the money, they do what they want, crony capitalism. My hope is that, to your point, even though we take a step backwards, right? There's some centralization. It's not going back to the status quo. There is a level of this is still decentralized. I can still hold Bitcoin in custody myself. I don't have to go to BlackRock. I don't have to go to Fidelity. I don't have to go to JP Morgan, right? Which they're all going to offer crypto and have you custody with them. But I can still self-custody and I can still participate in DeFi protocols. That's to be seen. And my hope ideally is that you have that balance.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think we want to do everything possible to just educate the everyday person to, self-custody, to learn about that. And we'll see. I guess definitely time will tell.
Yeah. Now, I'm so fascinated by the fact that Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and Citadel, those are like powerhouses, man.
Yeah.
They came together and say, hey, we're going to build this incredible crypto exchange. Obviously, you and I have not tested it. We have not seen it. But from what we're hearing, it's supposed to be the crypto exchange of crypto exchanges, right? It's supposed to be amazing. I'm curious the level of marketing that's going to come behind that. And will they say, hey, remember that FTX stuff and all these exchanges? They don't know what they're doing. Come with us. We have the legacy. We have the insurance. We have the custody. I'm excited to kind of try it, but also I'm like, I don't want to support them.
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand you. And, one thing that from what I'm seeing is that they are, in some ways, trying to use what happened with the FTX to say like, hey, we're different. Hey, this is the way that we are going to be. We've learned from what's happened, and it's, non-custodial exchange and all of these measures that they put in place. So there are lessons learned from that debacle, because like, again, the FTX, what happened with FTX really was, it's a centralized player, and just with the crypto slogan on top of it, and it's on and off ramps, which is really, really big in the space. But if you don't understand, and if you haven't done your research, you just think it's crypto. So definitely we see with this, is it the EDX? Yes, EDX. Yeah. We'll see how they're going to do things differently, how they're going to market it, what they're going to use. Like you said, it's going to be really cool and interesting.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like you're saying, the masses are used to those brand names. They know Charles Schwab. Maybe they have stocks and equities and ETFs and things already with Fidelity and then obviously Citadel and so forth. So I feel like, they have an advantage. They already have millions of customers in their database. Yeah. It just takes an email, right, to say, hey, come check out our new exchange. And they're already going to have hundreds of thousands of people signing up. So I think it's something we can avoid. But, you're alluding to it, that people have to get educated about the tech, that, hey, you can self-custody this and you can control it. And no one has to tell you what to do with your Bitcoin. And you don't have to talk to a portfolio manager necessarily, right? You can buy Bitcoin and hold it and keep it and send it to your friends, your family, overseas, whatever it is, and be your own bank,
Yeah. And ultimately, I hope that this is just like one of those things that lends to becoming a stepping stone for everyone to have more sovereignty and education and understanding, but also like redistribute the power a little bit. Like, not everything, you can't completely be your own bank unless the user experience is incredible, which is, I hope we get there very soon. And I still think that there's going to be a part of what your portfolio or your wealth needs to also be in other areas too. So this is like the bright side of what's being built.
For sure. Now, we got the SEC going after the tier 1 exchanges that were birthed out of the crypto asset class. They're not legacy TradFi. Obviously, SEC suing Coinbase. They're going after Binance. But what I was pleasantly surprised by is that these exchanges and crypto companies are suing the SEC and fighting back. Like, they're hiring top lawyers. So I really like what's happening now. I feel like the industry has had enough of Gary Gensler and the SEC. People are kind of tired of being bullied, and and look, don't get me wrong, they're doing something illegal. They should face the penalty, right?
Yeah.
So by no means are we advocating for doing illegal activity, but Coinbase, and as an example, they were green-lighted by the SEC with their services to do an IPO, go public. And there was an issue. Now all of a sudden, Gary's coming in saying, "Oh, we're going to sue you." It's really crazy, man. It's like Congress needs to act because the SEC is out of control.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like they're just throwing some serious punches at these two biggest players, and with specifically with Coinbase, they're kind of like backtracking what they approved or what they said is okay. So yeah, it not only is this bad because as somebody on the outside trying to go in, you see these lawsuits, and that's already a red flag. And not only that, but then using Coinbase or Binance, it makes you a little scary just hearing these things like going on in your funds, where your funds are at. And of course, again, always self-custody, but still that's, it's scary. It's a scary thought of what they're, just putting the word like being sued or like the SEC is looking into you. You're like, oh God.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I think Coinbase is fine. I don't think they broke any rules. It's just because there's no clarity. The SEC is going after Coinbase. But to your point, then that puts out in the air, in the media, in the world, oh, Coinbase got sued. Uh-oh. like something's wrong, when no, that's not the case. It's just Gary Gensler is a clown, and he's throwing in a whole bunch of tokens in these lawsuits, saying staking is a security, which is nonsense.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the parallel, all of a sudden Fidelity and these guys launching a crypto exchange, it's almost like, I can't get Coinbase on breaking the law or anything or the rules, but I'm just going to do this. And that already kind of diminishes their market share or people's perception. But
Yeah.
here comes the TradFi guys who are saying, hey, we're not Coinbase, we're not Binance, come trust us.
Yeah. You've been trusting us your whole time.
Right. I don't know. People may say, oh, dude, that's like a conspiracy, but it's like, I don't know. It seems logical because these two things are happening in parallel.
Yeah, and like you said, I think the SEC is saying that Coinbase has been operating without the right license for years, and then they've been putting, profit above the investor interest, which is like, really crazy to think too. And like you said, if there is some shady business, that should be looked into, but it can be complete coincidence of what's like is happening right now, and then you have these big players that have always, been in the space, in the financial space for a long time, coming into the crypto.
Yeah. And some people are even criticizing Gary and saying, well, you're doing this to the most regulated crypto entity in the industry. I mean, one that has went public. Imagine all the steps, all the paperwork, all the audits they had to go through to do that. But you were meeting with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX and didn't catch what he was doing with the fraud. Where was his Wells notice, right?
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of hypocrisy, but I think there's a clear agenda to push these crypto startups down and let the TradFi guys take over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on that note, we got a report today that Moody's, which usually does credit rating and so forth, they do some for the entire country of the United States, which is interesting. And there was a report, one of the analysts said the failure to advance crypto legislation could make the US less attractive. I think this has a lot of credence because UK has passed crypto regulations, the MiCA, I should say the EU, and the UK is working on its own. Dubai, the UAE is opening up, Japan, Singapore. So I feel, and I've heard from folks, some hedge fund managers and stuff, many have gone overseas, many crypto companies and capitals, leaving the United States. I hope that, the United States gets this right soon, because I'm seeing a lot of people leaving and it really sucks. So that's a lot of jobs that are leaving.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this tug of war that's happening right now in the US over how to regulate cryptocurrencies. And that's the really big challenge. Just so much divisiveness, and just like taking a look, I mean, we're not going to get in there, but like just because of the political divisiveness also within the United States, I think that's causing everything else to not feel stable and to ultimately driving people out of the states. And it's challenging, it's kind of like, instead of moving forward with the times, we are just being stuck.
Yeah. And I think here's what I'm hearing from some folks. I think, and we're starting to see and hear that some Democrats are starting to distance themselves from Gary. And I say Democrats because obviously Gary's a Democrat appointed by a Democrat administration. There are anti-crypto Republicans, of course. But just for this example, some Democrats are actually upset because they feel he went too far by attacking Coinbase. And then all of a sudden you had A16Z and Andreessen Howard say, yeah, we're going to the UK because there's no clarity here. So I feel like the narrative is starting to shift on Gary because I think he went too far, like going after Coinbase and these big hedge funds are saying, yeah, we don't know what we're going to do here, but we're going to expand to other places. And then like the UK prime minister is tweeting out, we're so happy to have Coinbase. We're so happy to have Andreessen Horowitz and these folks here. We're going to try to make crypto a big part of our economy and all that. So it's like you're seeing all these things, and I'm hoping some Democrats start flipping on Gary soon.
Yeah, again, when you put too much pressure on one side, it forces people out and you box them in, and they will find other solutions elsewhere. And that's certainly going to be bad for business for the entire country.
Yeah, especially like, this technology, unlike what we've seen in the past, it's not exclusive to the US. It's not like a US capital markets driven. Like other countries are developed and have their financial markets in place and the regulations. And in a global economy like we're in right now, capital can move easily. Blockchain obviously is global. The assets are not like stuck in the United States in a vault. They're on the blockchain, globally distributed. It's a different dynamic. And I'm just thinking back, imagine if we did this with the internet and stopped Google from building here and Amazon and all these great tech companies. Where would the United States be? And I feel I just have a fear that, you know, are we too far along, or will they get it right soon?
Yeah. I mean, agreed. And I know like they're trying to figure out, like, again, how to regulate especially stable coins, and that could, you know, they're proposing a bill that could redefine digital tokens from being securities to commodities. But, you know, there are concerns with that. And people are saying it could come at a cost for the consumer's protection. So it could, and could lead and let fraudulent crypto firms off the hook in some way. So there's, like, again, a lot of division, not a lot of clarity. And it's just like an intense match here that we're going through.
Yeah, my hope is that they get this right this year before election cycle. I think not about an hour ago, I saw news, and we're recording this on Wednesday, June 21st. Patrick McHenry put a hearing on the calendar for July 19th or something to get his bill finalized to push through. Now, it could pass the House, of course, easily, I think, because there's multiple bills backed by Republicans and co-sponsored by Democrats as well. But it's the Senate, right? It's just sometimes I get so frustrated with our government system because it's so slow, and they're all, like you were saying before, they're always fighting, all this divisiveness. But hopefully they can come together on this issue. You know, they did it with the debt ceiling. Well, maybe fingers crossed they can get something.
Yeah, it definitely would be a great step forward.
Yeah. I don't know if you've been following the Ripple XRP lawsuit much. I think all eyes are on this from an altcoin perspective, because if Ripple is able to get a win, it's going to really set the precedence. A lot of altcoin projects can fight back. There are rumors that this thing could wrap up this week, next week, sometime soon. Man, I'm hoping for a victory. And then recently there was the Bill Hinman emails that got released, which exposed the SEC's corruption with Ethereum. What are your thoughts? You know, when do you think we might see this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow too much of the Ripple, but of course it's really big for the space. I haven't been following it. So what about you? I want your thoughts in this, because I think you're definitely more invested.
Well, in full disclosure, I am an XRP holder.
Well, I meant like energetic invested,
but man, look, I'm a Cardano holder. I'm a Matic holder, and you know the SEC named Cardano and Matic in that Binance lawsuit. So I feel like for these projects, which may be targeted, in order for them to be able to fight back, they all need Ripple to win, because they can use that case law and some of the defense, like fair notice. Also, that the SEC itself, which was revealed in that Bill Hinman emails, they themselves, going back years, don't know how to regulate this, despite what Gary Gensler says. The rules are clear. Just come in and register. Right? Like, no, we need Congress to act. So, man, we need that victory on one hand for the entire industry, and second for my XRP bags. Okay, so full disclosure.
I love this. I mean, we'll see. I think, like you said, it's there's a lot of speculation of when it's going to wrap up too. But the sooner the better for everything to move forward.
Yeah, my hope is, like, look, Bitcoin's pumping. We're getting all this bullish news. If that was to happen, man, that would be really good. It will have a Bitcoin go to like 40K or so, and then alts will pop off. So I'm going to swing trade, take some profits. So fingers crossed.
So curious question for you. I mean, there's constant news, bearish news, bullish news. How are you feeling personally about the whole space? Are you bullish, bearish?
I'm still bullish because, this is what is this? My second or third bull market and bear market. Man, it's been a while. I've been here, so I've seen different narratives. And when I think back to when I first started exploring the crypto market in 2016, late 2016, a buddy told me about it. And then early 2017, I continued, researching and educating myself about it. Man, you just look at where things are at now versus back then. It's incredible. It's incredible. We've come so far. And the tech has gotten so much more advanced. There's so many new blockchains with different protocols that solve different issues.
Yeah.
So the building is continuing. And, the fact that banks and different companies, governments as well, are adopting and building on it. And when I say that, like an example, like California is putting on the Tezos blockchain vehicle titles. And then I think it's Vermont was using Proppy to put home deeds on the blockchain and blockchain voting and all these things, right? And then, obviously you got BlackRock entering the market and all these things. I am still bullish. And despite all these brutal bear markets, like like we were talking about, the highs are incredible, the highest highs, but then the lowest lows of the bear market. And there's always some fear and fear narrative in the bear market. So I wasn't like shaking it or anything like that. I was more like frustrated and angry at the SEC. I was buying the dip. FTX collapsed. I was buying the dip. That's already paid off because the price is, going back up. So because it's not my first rodeo, I'm looking at it from a macro perspective, like 5 to 10 year horizon. I'm like, this is the future. Clearly, these big players are jumping in.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear this too. And I think for a big part, I also love to look at the non-monetary side of things, of what's being built and what this technology really is doing for the long term, which then naturally involves money in that. And I'm really bullish on what's continuing to be built in the space. And hopefully we get a lot more clarity to continue to see the good using this technology for that, and being an inclusive space for many people to learn about money and finances and, data at the end of the day too.
Yeah. And just so folks kind of understand my perspective, it's tiered. So like, yes, am I motivated because I'm an investor and I want to make a return? Absolutely. But the techie in me loves the blockchain application, what's being built and different apps. And then the other part is, integration into society. Same with the internet, grew and a lot of jobs and benefits and communication and so forth. To your point, a lot of unbanked people and people who don't have access to proper financial services are going to be able to get that now, because you just look at developing countries and many of those folks have smartphones now, and you'll be able to be their own bank to a certain degree, not 100%, but have better control of their finances. And I think there's going to be a world where being able to earn yield through DeFi and all that is going to help people to earn money in ways they have not had opportunities to, just because there's no infrastructure. But guess what? The internet is the infrastructure in this game. So I'm excited for the future, and especially to seeing developing countries, really leapfrog, legacy issues.
That
they've faced, because I was not born in the United States. I came from a country, Guyana in South America. Guess what? They don't have certain infrastructure in place, but I know almost everybody has a phone, and I can't imagine what crypto and blockchain, all these things can do for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the money aspect, like personally, since I came through Bitcoin, that's what caught my attention, of like the opportunities that are given because of this technology versus the failing system that we're in. And I think that's still so crucial and so important. And it all goes hand in hand. It all supports one another. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and it's going to be, I think, a more equitable economy as a result. Not 100%. I'm not talking about UBI or universal basic income, but rather, for example, you and I both use Twitter. Maybe we use Facebook and Instagram. We post things, but Facebook and Instagram don't pay us anything for doing that.
Yeah.
But they take our content and monetize it, right? That's how they make their money, sell to advertisers. And even you can do a subscription or whatever, right? But being part of financial networks, for example, like the Bitcoin blockchain, being a Bitcoin holder, the more it gets adopted, the more building on that blockchain, the more it benefits you. So you're an equity holder, so to speak, and you can share in the financial gain of it. And I think when the world of blockchains and communities built on those blockchains, it's just going to be more equity for folks, more financial opportunities. Agreed,
100%.
So I think we hit on a lot of topics.
We did.
But we'll see what Bitcoin continues to do. It's currently sitting over 30K, has to break through some resistance. I'm hoping it makes its way to 40K, and I'll be partying a little bit. I don't know about you, Vanessa.
The summer's here, so we gotta get a little joy during the summer. So Bitcoin, stay steady.
For sure. All right, guys, be sure to check out Vanessa's podcast. Links will be in the description. Catch you in the next episode. Thank you for listening. Talk to you all later.
Bye, everyone.